Make an adjustment right quick. Let's get ourselves situated. Let's get down like that one, a little bit lower. Perfect. Get that a little bit lower. All right, cool. Let's do our work. Put in that work. Put in that work. Put in that work. Put in that work. All right. Let's get some invitations in. Shall we? We're just waiting. And it's coming to you. Yeah, we ain't gonna do that. But we are gonna hit this button over here. For the light. Oh, my light out there. Where's the light? Man, come for you. You know what? We are gonna do it. Gonna go down and through. Pull up a chair. Lucifer's gonna tell you a tale. Tale that you never heard before. Entertaining our suffering. Entertaining our suffering. Entertaining our suffering. Entertaining our suffering. We're gonna get into this tonight. Entertaining our suffering. Fear-based relationships. Aligning versus chasing. Gonna get to a lot of stuff tonight, actually. We're gonna hit it with some, then we're gonna end it out with a Q&A. You know, of course, we're gonna do that Q&A. Hit it with that Q&A on there. Then we gonna round this out. Facing ourselves, dealing with ourselves. What did you pose the question? What led you to consciousness? What led you to your spiritual sense? What led you to that? But before we get into that aspect, let's think about this. Everything that is now intangible, peace. Everything that was once intangible was once tangible. Yeah. Everything that was once tangible, that is now intangible, and we're going to get into the definition of intangible, was once tangible. Everything that you have made a part of your world, a part of your existence, a part of this identity that you cling to, was once intangible. It was once, I like to call it digital. It was once digital before you integrated with it. Whether you learn how you learn the behavior, where you learn how you learn the behavior, how it came up. Usually we go into the aspects of that trauma, traumatic experiences, all of these things of that nature. But let's go into the aspects of that projection. 10%. I've been thinking about this formula over the last couple of months and applying this formula. And this formula has been heeding some very interesting results. And the more and more that I step into accepting the result as is, I'm not looking at the result as it should be some type of way or to be triggered. I'm allowing it to do what it needs to do. And I was thinking about it on the aspects of the economic plan, investing, a financial plan. Everything down here is a business. You keep getting upset because, oh my God, they're just conducting business, and you don't have a business ownership. You don't own anything because you mad because somebody controlling something, but you don't understand the difference between ownership and controlling things. owning nothing and controlling everything. And the plan came to be the 50%, the 40%, and the 10%. In a financial plan with a financial advisor, you come into aspects of building, whether you don't need that shit to even in this aspect of I need to have a business to have this type of financial plan. No. Just like you don't need to subscribe to everything. Just take what you need. This is the narrative of that cognitive dissonance that we invest into because it's still pertinent. Motherfuckers is mad about Russia and Ukraine right the fuck now. Gas prices. COVID went away. Investing into another 40%. Because as long as I have my 10% or my perception on the table, doing whatever I can, I'll always invest into the 40% that allows me to do what I can. Because as long as I can do what I can, I'll always invest into the 40% of the information of that pool of bullshit. I'll keep I'll keep my investments into that. I'll build my contingencies onto that because I don't want to deal with that 50%. That 50% being your trauma being that most valuable resource. So that 50%, that's how I need the food, water, shelter. 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 3 basic components. 3 basic things. 50%. But everything else you've added to that, or the reason that you acquired your home, the reason that you acquire and you eat the way that you eat, the way that you feel the need for what you bring into your space, that's in that 50%. You keep telling yourself things of the nature. I remember telling myself all the time, I was like, yo, I want a business-minded person and this, and this. But it was only based on what I would see based on that 10%, the perception. That perception. So basically everything that I did, everything that I was doing was entertaining my suffering. I was just entertaining my suffering. I rather entertain the dream through the 10% of I can never be this or I could do this, all through that 10%. That 10% is just the light. That 10% is that visibility. That 10% is that first impression. That 10% is that identity. That 10% that you keep getting locked up with. That's that 10%. It's that 10%. And you want everybody to look at that 10%. 9 times out of 10, when I was getting mad at the 10% that I was showing people, I don't like showing everything. I don't like being real vulnerable. I don't like motherfuckers all in my business. It was so I can continuously invest in that 40% or the shallow pool of dead weight of everything else from the projection. The thought processes, the cognitive dissonance, the reason I can't make money, the reason I can't get these things, the reason that I'm in a hustle mindset, the reason that I'm chasing my dreams. And I get stuck in the aspects of I'm chasing everything. Then I sat there with myself. The only reason I was sitting there most of the times chasing, hustling, was ultimately to avoid what I was being. Simply sitting there and being. Allow myself to sit there, allow myself to just be. Because in the earlier parts of that was like, that's that silence, that's your fear, that's your trauma, that's that conversation that you keep avoiding, that's that conversation you quite didn't understand, that's that rejection, that's those echoes. So as long as I keep chasing, I'm trying to attract some shit. I'm trying to attract better for my life. Okay. But that 10% is the perception. So I'm stuck in the perception. This is where we get into the aspects of the first line of business we don't get into in this intangible and tangible aspect. anything being intangible is anything that's already been, is basically that program that's already been programmed into your mind, your subconscious. You already have intangible programs based on to the aspects of trauma. From how you deal with, from every relationship, friendship, all that, friendship, relationship, how you view, how you project yourself into the space. That's coming from that's coming from that intangible shit. That's coming from that relationship you had with your mother, the one you didn't have. The relationship with your father that you had or you didn't have. And that was everything to a certain point in time. Everything to a certain point in time. Until you realize that that was only based on their perception of their experiences. That was their perception of their experiences that was given to you. And then you carried on those perceptions, even if you went in opposition to the perception of that indoctrination, what you went through, even if you were going in opposition to it, it still was there inside of your intangible. You made that your intangible space. Last couple of weeks, I've been getting deep into these aspects of, are you really relearning? Or are you just simply reconditioning? When we think about the aspects of fear-based spirituality, that's what I'm going to call it. Because that's exactly what the fuck it looks like. You're going to keep getting hit over the top of the head so you accept exactly what the fuck it is that you are. So with this fear-based aspect of spirituality, it's just nothing more than religion all over again. You can jump from out of the pulpit. You can jump out of the pulpit and you can jump into the Ephah or jump into whatever tribe, whatever. You can go become you can go become a Hebrew Israelite. You can become Ephah. You can become Santa. You can become whatever it is. Because not knocking it off that, I'm saying that might be a part of your journey. Might be a part of your path that you need to get into. Because it called you to it. But if I ask you the question, and the ongoing question that should always be inside of your mind, don't say Lucy ain't never told you that shit, is why did I get into this? Why am I here? Why did I make this decision? See, it's that why that's found inside of what we made intangible. What we made that we're not going to move away from. What we're afraid the fear of it not existing. That's what's inside of that intangible space. Then you just kept investing and investing and investing and investing into, because of what I've been through, that's why I'm doing this. Yeah, I'm changing a lot of different, even now I'm changing a lot of different programs. One program that I worked on today, I've been working on for the last couple of days actually, is I'm stopping myself from saying I will give my last. I always give from my last. I'm a give from my last. I'm a give from my last. I'm always going to give my last. I had to really sit with that, because that's contradicting to my new programs, the new program. If I'm abundant, if I'm overflowing, if I'm just being inside of a space in the now, if I understand that I'm always in the state of adding, that means I'm always in the state of asserting directions for developing. That means there is no last. That means there is no end. That means there is no ending. That means every time that something comes up, that is the next, that's my, okay, cool, that's what I got to take out next. That's my next line of events that must go into play. But if I keep going from that mindset of I'm giving from my last, and that now I'm looking at that fear of my last, everything that I defined to that last. It's not just saying it because it sounds heartwarming and I should say it off of my heart because it makes me a good person. Even the aspects of me investing into being a good person has to be fucking questioned. Not just some of the shit. Not just the 10% that I don't like. All of it has to be questioned. I have to sit with all of this. I get to sit with all of this. I get to question this. I get to sit with myself and question these things. I get to ponder upon these things until I break that rational loop. Because I've created so many rational. You think about, I made this post a couple of weeks ago. 365 days in a year, 52 weeks in it. It's 52 weeks in a year. 365 days in a year. 12 months, 52 weeks, 7 days, 24 hours, 60 minutes each hour. That's one program. That's one program. One program. Because remember, the program, when we think about this aspect of how we set that up, 21 days, followed by 30 days, followed by 60, followed by 90. All to create new habit, temperament, pattern, behavior, mood, behavior, congratulations. That's the new version of you. So think about how many programs you created. Think how many programs you created. All to fit that intangible narrative. You can tell when motherfuckers have been triggered in the conscious aspect, in this consciousness, in that fear base, to the moment that some shit happened, the moment that gas prices went up, all last year, motherfuckers running around, we gonna be business owners, and we gonna own companies, and we gonna have LLCs, and we gonna be doing all this type of shit. We gonna be millionaires. We gonna have that money. We gonna have that money. We gonna be making moves. Soon as the gas price went up, everybody lost their mind. Everybody lost their fucking mind. Oh my God, the gas prices went up. It's because of this, and this. They're always trying to stop us. Soon as you said, okay, cool, I'm about to go get my LLC and get my company together, they'll always stop you. They or your own ego stops you with the same shit every time. It'll always boil down to money. But what if the money is just a projection? We know money is just a projection. We know money's just a projection, the 10%. And what is our money backed by? You can they can give you the nice little sentence. Money ain't backed by the American dollar ain't backed by anything. Yeah, it is. It's been backed by the same thing that it's always been backed by since the beginning of them building the Corporation of the United States. Your emotions. Let's get past the aspect of bodies. Let's come out of the body. Let's get out of the slave. Let's stop saying slaves in the backs of black people. Emotions. Debt. Yep, that emotion. That emotion leaves a debt. When we think about your emotion, when you go with your unbalanced emotion, you don't understanding your emotions, the lack of emotional intelligence, you create debts. You go and naturally create that debt. They have to keep putting something inside of that. It's always been the emotional aspect. You read every damn book and they keep telling you read every damn book and they be like, yeah, they can't create anything. They didn't went upside your head, but like, yeah, they can't create anything. They need us to create. We're the only creators. Your emotion. The only that keeps that shit going. So as long as you're not dealing with your emotions, of course that shit gonna get to your ass. Of course they can keep pulling things out of you. But you gotta take away the victim mentality. You gotta take away that victim mentality. This shit ain't happening to you, it's happening for you. You sitting there upset because, oh my God, they keep trying to, you doing the same shit. I only get mad at shit because the only reason I'm getting mad at something because somebody's doing something better is only honesty. In honesty. The only reason I'm mad at other motherfuckers, I was getting mad at people or mad at things in that narrative, whether it was from the mindset of me saying I would never do that to someone, or is it really because, damn, why can't I be like, bravo, I see what you did there. That was some good shit. That was some good move. Good move. Why do I gotta keep saturating it with my feeling about something and denying myself the lesson that's inside of that aspect? Why do I gotta keep, it's because that's why we can't trust anybody. Because they keep doing that to us. And then I'll spend the next 3-4 months trying to rally everybody around the same idea that is this reason that we can't go ahead. This is the reason we can't be successful. Because I want to keep consuming and investing in the shit that makes everything that's happened to me valid. Everything that I'm not taking accountability for, valid. I want to keep saying that my pops was a narcissist. I want to keep saying that my uncle, I want to keep saying that my family members are fucking all stuck up and all up on themselves. But then every relationship that I get into, the motherfucker makes it all about me or reflects me. It's all about me. Until I start noticing things about them, which are actually just reflections of me. That's why I can see it. And then they want to change. Oh my God, I'm tired of people not wanting to do what I need them to do. When then the reality goes into it, when we think about the aspects of that fear-based narrative, cognitive dissonance, that perception, I don't have time to be upset of how somebody else moves, what somebody else does, how somebody else acts, how somebody else reacts, because I'm really doing something. I'm really building some shit. I'm really doing something. But I'm used to the perception of the distraction. Because the distraction always comes around the same fucking time. In the collective, the distraction always comes around the same time. Every time you about to level up and you making a move, and you know you making the move, and you know you're doing it from a clear intent, you know you're doing it from the heart, you ain't trying to you ain't rationalizing, you just simply going with the flow. There's some shit come up, and you're like, damn, shit stopped me. How? It's like if you sat here right now and did a whole damn ritual talking about you wanted to make more money, and the first thing to come up is your mother that call you every single fucking weekend for some fucking money. Congratulations, that's your first. Man, I did the whole ritual right. But now my mom calling me for money knowing I ain't got none. Your mother's the root definition to how you define money. The relationship between you and your mother is the emotional resource to how you define money. The relationship between you and your pops is the definition behind you get money. Your definition from trauma expression, let's go into the aspects of that's that fear-based. Because even when we come from religion, you come out of religion, now you in your spiritual sense. That means everything inside of religion is going to be your lessons for your spirituality. In that spiritual aspect with yourself. Now we inside of the spiritual aspect. Outside of that is the consciousness. Then outside of the consciousness is the subconsciousness. All of that shit from your subconscious, because you want to look outside instead of looking outside of what it is, trying to rationalize what it looks like outside of you, because you don't want to go in the inside. Back to that 50%, the shit that you keep locked up, the shit that you keep covered up, the shit that's been so suppressed and so repressed that you don't remember it anymore because you done pushed it out, but you still reacting to it in some way, shape, or form. That's the shit that be fucking you up. It's like getting into the aspects of, I read a post the other day. They were talking about the aspects of, when it comes to your ancestors, do you deal with the ones that were crackheads and alcoholics and child molesters and all that type of shit? I was like, hell yeah. Hell yeah. That's the womb. That's the womb. Let's use this formula again. That 50%, that's the womb. Yeah, you were there. That 50%, that's the womb. That's the sum of all of your ancestors. That's the good ancestors that were good and they were fighters and they were fighters and they were fighting for rights and power and all that. Then you had the other ancestors on the other end. Crackheads, crack whores, drug dealers, pimps, killers. Gotta go back to go forward. Killers, all that shit. That's the womb that was the womb. So what do you think the 40% is? Inner child. 40% is the inner child. The inner psyche. The consciousness. Before it's corrupted. So what do you think you're project out of? That's when I talked about the aspects of hyperadolescence. That 10% of that hyperadolescent. So if I deny that I had crackhead relatives, drug addicted relatives, when I think about my addiction, when I think about my complex that is based on being addicted to learning, being addicted to growth, being addicted to changing, being addicted to being in the flow, being addicted to being in gratitude, being addicted to living in my highest aspects of myself. I didn't get that from the good relatives. I didn't get that from the relatives that marched. I didn't get that from the relatives that went to church every day. I didn't get that from them. I got that from my pimping ass uncle, my crack whore aunts and great uncles and great aunts. I got that from them. I got that from them. So every time that I come to the current state and I'm trying to venerate from my ancestors, and I keep, I'm not getting the answers that I need. Why I'm not getting the answers? But why do I keep meeting crackheads at the gas station? Why I keep getting in these relationships where this chick is fucking over-sexualized? Why I keep meeting niggas that's in an over-sexualized, angry-ass state? I'm getting the answer that I need. I have to suspend that disbelief of my cognitive dissonance. That shit was all peaches and flowers, all roses and flowers. I stay locked up in that one thought process. I keep doing the same shit over and over and over again. Because I'm denying the other aspect. This when you get into when you really working with your ancestors in that space. And some of your ancestors, them niggas want to keep going. That's when we talk about you think if somebody throwing some shit at you, it's your own people. Spiritual crabs in a bucket. Your own fucking people. You thought it was just on the surface, in the physical aspect, in that 10% that your mom and your dad and your sisters and your cousins and your uncles on the physical aspect don't want you to be any better. You thought it was just there, but if it's as above, so below, as within, as without. If we want to keep going with the laws, then that shit happens in continuum, past, present, future, always in the same continuum, always going in the same motion. You can't see it because you don't know it. You don't trust yourself. You want to rationalize, this is why my life is the way that it is. It's because my uncle back in the day did this, and they never talked to him ever again. But you got access to it. What's his side of this fucking story? Can you accept that side of the story? Can you acknowledge it, accept it, forgive him for it, forgive him for his humanity, forgive him for the ailments of his humanity, thank him for the lesson? No. That's the same thing as it gets real. We got to get real deep and real dark with your shit. We got to stop going through the aspects of staying on that surface level and only investing on the surface. You got them on all sides. You got to look at all of this. Until I really started sitting with that narrative in my mind, I would wonder why I couldn't get to certain points with myself. I would wonder, I'm trying to pour all of this energy into this space, but I'm wondering I wasn't looking at what was coming up. That's this, all right. Wait, that shit keep coming up. And I know I've worked on it. I know I've dealt with it. I know I've dealt with that aspect of myself. I know I've purged and I've healed this aspect of myself. Why is it still coming up? From the masculine aspect, not understanding the aspect that this is before I understood the spirit. Everybody has a fucking womb. Everybody has that spiritual womb. I'm not understanding that I too have to clean my womb. This is where a lot of brothers we get confused with in that aspect of the old narrative of the healing just for the women aspect. They gotta heal. And on the other end of that, women out there talking about men need to heal. And then we talking about self-care routines. And then we only doing it based on ego-based situations. So we got the fear-based spirituality, fear-based consciousness. Everybody want to click up and shit. Then we come into the relationship. Spiritual relationship, ego-based relationship. An ego-based relationship needs something. It needs something tangible. It needs something tangible. Spiritual-based relationships are based on creating and understanding understanding that the intangible was once tangible. Before I came and went down through my fall as a god, I didn't know shit about no fucking emotions. So emotions were intangible. Before I had a body and I was just pure consciousness floating the fuck around, the body was tangible. And then when you're not thinking, and go to the craziest part about it, you'll say the shit you'll say it out loud when you think about the tangible effects of shit. I can cook and I can clean and I can do this and I can get that nigga sex, or all that shit can be purchased. It's tangible. What's intangible about it? What manifested it? What brought it into that space? See, when we go into these aspects, it's cool and it's nice and it's dandy to talk about the aspects of, we look at the sciences. If it rocking with me that's had any charts from me, any work from me, if you look at any natal chart analysis that I've done, you can go back and you'll notice I use a lot of they, them, man. I use a lot of third person aspects. I don't use you all the way down it. And there's a reason I don't use you all the way down it. Because I'm triggering, because everything I do has an intended purpose. I'm triggering you to look, that is an aspect of my humanity. This isn't me. This is understanding my humanity. This is understanding my humanity. That's the reason I write it out the way that I write them out. When I do the aspects, when I'm doing the aspects of consultations, you ain't leaving the same. When I do consultations, you ain't leaving the same. You are coming into the shadow. That means everything that it's not. This is why I was talking about the aspects of when you come to me as the aspect for a consultation and sessions, you are coming into the shadow. We're allowing ourselves to come into that energy, into your shadow. That's why all the stuff, that's why weeks later, after the next session that's scheduled, so much stuff has came up and now you're now aware of it. I'm only guiding you. I'm not taking you anywhere that you haven't been. I'm just saying, hey, you go sit over there in the passenger seat, let me drive a little bit. Tell me what you see from the passenger side. You got the GPS. Let's navigate. I ain't gonna crash. Let's navigate. Mm-hmm. Mm-mm. When you're looking inside that space with your mindset of where you at now, everything that you're doing now, you're now understanding that everything that you want to do now is not going to be based on the tradition anymore. The tradition was meant to be learned to be exalted. I can't go back and be like, yeah, man, my parents were slaves and they learned to come. I honor them, but I know that must be moved forward. There was a sense of that shit is going to be redundant if I'm going. I always talk about this. I'm in a state of dissatisfaction at all times. So I know I know how to survive. I know how to do the survival aspects. If the world came to an end right now, I know how to gut an animal. I know how to take the feathers off. I know how to skin shit. I know how to garden. I know how to do all of that shit. But that's not where I'm going back to. I'm going into another blueprint. I'm now unlocking the new blueprints. So everything that was once tangible to me has now become intangible. That's that integration. The way that I look at building a trust and building a business and building a corporation and looking at aspects of those numbers, it wasn't the fact that I didn't get it at a certain point in time. The reason it was coming to me was for me to sit there with it and define it based on my path, where I'm at, where I'm inside of that, where I'm inside of my motion, my narrative, what I'm creating. There's no more of this generic, yo, we all gonna do a community. I had the conversation a couple days ago. I was like, any community being built where I'm going to be involved, everybody got to go through a healing process. Everybody got to go through a psychological evaluation. Everybody got to go through a psychological evaluation. Because it'll do no good to go get 6,000 black people in a brand new fucking development, and all these motherfuckers got traumas and issues that they're just going to bring into that fucking development. Don't that sound familiar? Ain't that what you saying the white people been doing ever since they learning themselves? They making they shit tangible because it's within inside of them. Don't that sound familiar? Don't that sound like when you get personal with yourself? Don't that sound like what your mom did to you when she moved you across country to that other nigga house? Don't that sound familiar to you when your dad came and he took you to the weekends and you were looking over at his house? You were at his new house with his new chick. Don't that sound fucking familiar? That's why it's triggering you. For you. I talked about it in the last live. Some of y'all keep wondering, some of y'all are not defining what the milk is in your story. The pack of cigarettes your dad went to go get. Some of you are not defining what that is. Some of you are not defining what that is. So now when you come into this space of your mindset based on, I'm going to be in gratitude and I'm going to be successful. you create more situations. You've only been used to ego-based situations instead of actually understanding the aspects of that true relationship requires investment. That true relationship requires investment. That 40%. But I can't start investing into the 40% until I suspend my belief about my perception of myself, remove this filter of cognitive dissonance, and understand why I keep using cognitive dissonance. And once you really start breaking all that shit down, you be like, damn, I can do something brand fucking new. But you got to go deeper. You got motherfuckers out here right now mad that you got bitches out here right now mad about Kevin Samuels. Y'all keep motherfuckers having the same arguments. Same fucking arguments. My mindset then went so past that shit in the aspect of building some shit. The last time someone asked me about fucking polygamy, I was like, nigga, I got business-minded resources. I can turn two bitches out and make them bitches have their businesses. That's about it. Got to get to that root. Whole mindset change. I have resource mental. When I'm sitting in the just being, just me being me. When you sit and look at yourself without anything, simply your thoughts, your emotions, your energy, just that. Not your car, nothing tangible. What is intangible to you in your current state of being. And you look at that. When you look at it, do you view yourself as a good substitute or substitution? Or do you look at yourself as an addition? Or you look at yourself as an addition? That adding aspect. Assertive direction for development. Or are you a suppressor of the suppressor of the underlying bias? Every time that I look at myself inside of that space and I'm sitting still inside of that space, I realize and I'm humble with being an addition to a formula. I can add to. It's not based on ego that I say that I can add to. It's not based on, oh my God, I got all these degrees, I got degrees and I got money and I got a good stroke game and my voice is deep and you can book. None of that shit mattered. Because that's always going to take me out of what I really can really truly do inside of the state to help me develop and grow. When I was stuck in that sub mindset, I was always looking for problems. I'm chasing problems to avoid the work that I needed to do. I'm chasing problems to keep myself investing in distractions. So at the end of a year, at the end of 2 years, at the end of a month, I'm sitting there like, God damn, I'm tired of these motherfuckers getting on me and shit, fucking me up and shit. I'm tired of helping everybody to fuck else out. And then when it come time for me to need something, I had to take away the aspect of me thinking that I'm fucked up with everybody else's karma. It's everybody karma that got me fucked up. I'm the one acquiring that new debt. Because my mindset my trauma was always based on problems. My trauma was always based on the life that my mom had and my pops gave to her in that space and everything that she went through. The things I'm still looking at. My mom still needs something from me because I'm trying to be the best son ever. So I'm trying to take on all those responsibilities and becoming something else. But because that's my mindset, that's my perception, what do you think I'm going to keep attracting? Of course I'm going to keep contracting. Because I'm going to keep attracting these chicks that are looking for a good man to invest into their life, to help them with their 50% of bullshit. Because in me getting mad, they have a bunch of baggage and bullshit. It was because I was mad because I had a bunch of baggage and bullshit I wasn't dealing with. That's the only reason I could get upset. Only reason I could be mad. The only reason that the anxiety could kick in for me. The only reason I could be stuck inside of that space. It's because of that. That's the only reason that's the only reason I can interface with it, interact with it, dance with it. Because I was on that wavelength. I was on that frequency. Had to be honest with myself. I kept subbing things out. So I'll be subtiming with my aspects of my spirituality. Doing what I can, where I can, how I can, doing just enough. And then when a result pop up, like, oh my God, I didn't know it would happen. Telling myself that same damn lie. They get mad when I'm finding, why motherfuckers lying to me? I keep creating the situation. I'm co-creating the situation. I'm co-inhabitating the situation. My human narrative is living out the co-inhabitation of the situation that I already created in my mindset. Because I keep pulling from the same shit. Because I'm not assessing an understanding of what was once intangible was tangible. What was intangible was once tangible. And what was tangible was once someone else's intangible. The perception of speaking something of, I'm going to give people everything I didn't have. I know what it's like not to have something. That is only based on your perception. And you will only be able to provide based on the perception or the projection. You're only able to provide what is tangible. Everything else in between that in the investment or your contingency is your assumption. Yeah, your contingencies are your assumptions. She should have did this and he should have did this and they should have did this and we should have did this. All those corruptible thoughts, all that corruptible manner that you keep burning out, those are all the contingencies within that 40%. You keep blowing your money on investing on the perception. You keep blowing your energy and you keep blowing your energy rationalizing the perception. But if you turn that shit around and you suspended that, now you suspend that cognitive dissonance that you got to keep doing it this way. And every time you get triggered that you feel you got to do it that way. Let's go look back. Maybe I should turn around. Yep, I keep looking through the same. I can't look through the lens that way anymore. I can't keep doing the same thing anymore. I can't keep telling myself that I'm better off. I can't keep giving myself this definition of something that never existed in my life. Because that's what you keep doing. That's what you keep subscribing to. The bare minimum of shit and you get mad when it don't happen a certain way. That's what you getting upset with all the half of the fucking time. Oh my God, like, man, I just want a chick that is submissive and submission doesn't come without guidance. I just want a nigga that know how to lead and he know how to protect and provide. Leadership don't come without providing guidance. These shits interconnect. That shit interconnects. Leadership, and I want somebody that I can submit to and into my femininity. Have you submitted to your own femininity? What is in your intangible space of yourself, your mindset, your wounds, the things that you are not dealing with, the things that you are not yet subsurfacing inside of that space that are in your intangible that give you the projection of what you believe being feminine is. in that aspect of being feminine is? What is it there? What is it in that space? What is it in the aspects of that aspect of leadership that you have not started doing with your own disciplines inside of your own leadership? What's inside of your intangible? I posted that question, I think late last year. I was like, for the fellas, when it comes to the aspects of understanding your masculine aspect, what of your feminine aspect is guiding your masculine projection? For the ladies, I asked the question, what of your masculine aspect is leading you to the projection of your feminine, how you project your femininity? That process, that unhealed shit to the surface. It can be something as simple as your dad gave you everything that you wanted. But when you really sit there and look at how he gave you everything that you wanted, it was in slight of the lack of his ability to deal with your emotions. So every time you got a gift, you stop crying. That goes into your love language. So your love language, appeasing to your love language, or your daddy said it's not your fault. Appeasing to your love language. Or he gave you a piggyback ride. Or he would give you a hug. That's appeasing to your love language. Or he would do an act of service and build something for you or go get you some food. That's acts of service. That's your love language. Your first level of intimacy. Your first lessons in intimacy. That was your first level of intimacy. And now when we get darker, when we get into the sexual trauma, when we get into the molestation, I know it sounds fucking crazy. I know it's going to sound wild as fuck. I know it's going to sound wild as fuck. But in that same instance, through that sexual trauma, there's a part of you that needs to own that experience, no matter how heinous it is, that experience gave you the first feeling in that space. That's where your feelings are at. That's where that feeling is at. That's where that feeling, that emotion is at. Because you sat there afterwards, and now all of a sudden, now you looking for the bad boy. You looking for the bitch that ain't got no fucking, you trying to save every bitch. You trying to save every nigga. I hate the fat acting. I gotta wait for that shit to go scroll further up. When we go into that space, I'm gonna get your question in a second, dog. When we're going through that space and time with that mindset, you really have to be able to sit there with that. This is sitting in that shadow aspect. This is when you have to be coming to this aspect. I had to understand, like, nigga, there's some shit that I cannot do by myself. So when I go, all of a sudden now I get a book talking about consciousness and everybody being a reflection. And then it wasn't for me to say, okay, cool. Let me now start looking forward and everybody being a reflection. Now it was me looking back. Now when we now go back, let me go look at these reflections of those aspects and points. What led up to that? What led up to that failed day? Because something always leads up to it. Through trauma, we slow that, through the traumatic experience, we either slow that shit all the way down, underbalancing it, taking it to a state of underbalance, or we charge that bitch all the way up. We take it to a sense of overbalance. We speed it up, we slow it down, or we speed it up. That's that hype, that's that hyper state. That's that hyper state. That's that hyper adolescence. I just want to get it over with. That's when you go into that space of it happened too fast. You thinking this happening too fast, and I need to get it over. I need to get it over. I need to get it over with. I need to go over here. I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to make this happen. And you start triggering, you start punching in new coordinates because you ain't balanced. You ain't in the center with the shit. Because we're used to that ego. We're used to the fear-based. We're used to if it doesn't happen, then it didn't do what it was supposed to do. But if you think about, y'all remember the movie The Clumps when that nigga thought he got rid of Buddy Love and Buddy Love dog hair, and he left the rest of the experiment unattended, and then the experiment grew by itself. That's what you keep doing with these unchecked when you're not checking your thoughts. You leave your thought unchecked. You leave that shit undisciplined because you learn from an undisciplined space. So your trauma-based narrative of a situationship in that space with yourself is always going to be trauma-induced. You basically keep telling yourself, I need the trauma to exist. I need the bad things to exist. And it gets even deeper when we push that shit so far down that we overlayer it and it's locked away, so now it's out of our memory. Because that means you planted a seed. See, when we think about repressed memories, those become those seeds. You got the surface level shit, but everything that's repressed that you don't remember, that's the unresolved that's inside of that womb that's birthing something new. That's the shit that goes, that's when we think about karmic debt. And I told you how your past, your present, and your future is all in the continuum. When you plant that seed of that, you embed and you say, I never wanted to happen again. I never wanted to happen again. I never wanted to happen again. And you plant that seed under that intention of it never happening again. That's the seed you planted for your future. That's how deep your shit go back. You put it right back into the womb. You fed the demons inside. You fed that legion of demons. And then all of a sudden you turned on fucking Supernatural. And Supernatural, your first episode of Supernatural you saw had Crowley and that bitch, the Crossroads demon. Or the first time you heard about a motherfucker selling their soul for 7 years. And you couldn't put two and two together, but it spiked up something in your mind where you were excited when you were watching it. You didn't even know why you watched that. You didn't even know why. Damn, that came out of nowhere. I just like this. No. This is the dynamic of you having the ultimate control. Without the possessiveness, without the obsession. This is the aspect of you like, oh, this is why this works this way. This is why this can come into play the way it keeps coming into play. Because this is some deeply rooted shit. Your shadow is everything of your current state, of your ego, of whatever came from that womb of your inner child. Then we got to step into the aspects of that darkness. But if I have not dealt with my shadow in that space, if I ain't dealt with my shadow, that means I'm not seeing my current relationships, friendships, my parents. Let me read it now. Shit, bro, what if you don't know what you want, I've been doing everything to everyone else. That's the other half of it. There's two halves to it. Just like I just talked about the aspects of your good ancestors and your bad ancestors. There comes a point inside of your work when you're doing this work where it's not only what everybody else did to you, it's what you did to everybody else in tandem. That's a part of that's the true apology process. Because in the process of me forgiving others for what they did, I must now apologize for the bullshit that I did in reaction to what I thought they should have did or what I thought I wanted them to do. I must, because inside of that space, I had the same chances that I kept crying to them about. You had a chance to be a good mom. You had a chance to be a good family members. You had a chance to be this, this, and this. I had them same fucking chances. Had the same fucking chances. But the thing that stopped me from raising into those chances was my own fucking, remember, my shit was turned all the way up. So it was arrogance. That's why certain shit didn't play out the way it needed to play out. Because it was based on arrogance. Arrogance is that lower aspect of assertiveness. So I had this arrogance that every time I went into a space, no matter how humble and meekful I was acting, because it was Jesus and the blood of Jesus on me, so I was naturally humble and I should get the support based on that shit, I was still arrogant as fuck. There's a difference between me moving in the space of me being in this balance with myself and then thinking I'm better than everybody else just because I'm conscious now. Just because I'm spiritual now. Just because I know how to do that spell work now. Just because there's a difference. Just because I know how to do that razzle dazzle. Just because I know how to hypnotize motherfuckers. There's a difference. There's a difference just because there's a difference in me being a lower ranked sex demon and in exalting myself to my higher ranks as a sex demon. I'm still a sex demon. I'm still a fucking incubus. I'm still a fucking incubus. I'm a healed incubus, but I'm an incubus nonetheless. So every time somebody come up talking to me about, every time someone come and talking about like, yo, man, it's like looking at the aspects, you laugh at the shit. Like, I was laughing at the shit at the end of a session yesterday. I'm laughing because I'm like, yo, that's how these motherfuckers out here thinking. And every time I looked at this shit, I'm like, nigga, I'm the negative aspect of that. I'm not that one. I'm the one that I was the bad boy. I've always been the definition of the bad boy or the unconstricted version of something. Because I knew I didn't need to do certain things to do certain things. I knew for myself I didn't need to go light 96 candles inside of the bedroom to do my work. But because I was still in that state of arrogance with that, what result would I get? I'm only going to get lower base results. So if somebody go crazy over me, they're now obsessive, their now insecurities are coming to the surface, their insecurities is coming to the surface, and all of this shit, it was a situation. I was feeding my fucking ego. Just because I can slide in just because I knew my strokes could heal, did not mean that I'm supposed to be, since I'm still looking for problems, I'm dropping off semi-healed dick in unhealed pussy. That not changing anything. So I'm getting my ego stroked vicariously through them because now I get to hear that they talk about me and everything that I'm doing and like, oh my God, he's so great and he's so this and so that. And I'm feeding off of that shit. Those are my lessons. That's why I couldn't advance. That's why I couldn't go to certain things and do certain things and have certain conversations. It was only me shutting off the conversation. It was only me stopping me from having the conversation. Until I became honest with it and was like, I got some shit going on. I got some addiction complexes. Until I got serious and honest with it. This is where you have a lot of people in the conscious community in that aspect. This is when you start looking at this is when that 10% come back in play. Your taste refines. Your taste refines. One of the things I always tell people all the time, like the person if you came into your consciousness with people with you, friends, family, relationship, whatever it is, you're going to have to get really, really comfortable or sit in a state of dissatisfaction that you're not going to end with them or they might not level up. You're going to have to get into that space. Yes, it sucks in the human narrative because you looking at, man, I just did all this work, and maybe if I give them more, you're gonna kill out all of that. You're gonna burn out all of your energy that was based on protection. Because you have to build your protection first. As you're going down into this descent, you have to build your armor up first. You gotta build your protection up first. Your protection is based off what you have created based in stability. That 40%. That 10% is that 10% when you look at your shit, is your 10% an identity? A glamour? Something for somebody to suckle on and look good with? Or is that really you? Is that really you? Are you sitting in your perspective? That means your perspective is unbiased. It's impartial. I've talked about it before. It's impartial, unapologetic. It's natural energy. That shit shoot and become exactly what it needs to become in every space because it's an addition. It's doing exactly what it need to do, what it want to do. You're doing exactly what you desire. It's the fruits of your labor. These are the fruits of my labor. That 10% is the fruits of my labor. I can do whatever I decide to want with this. As long as my investments are in play and as long as my 50% is in balance. I can keep giving that 10. But if I'm sitting inside of that space, I'm sitting there trying to keep an identity up. I like the way my hair looked in one of my fucking outfits. I got a little too stuck in dressing up a certain way. I'm gonna pay for that later. None of this is based in fear for me. I'm not doing anything nothing that you're doing is going to be based on fear or the lack of understanding or based on something being generic. Everything when something comes to you and you're triggered to feel like you need to have this long explanation to it, or you haven't simplified it, and you're used to, this is when we think about the aspects of like how niggas give you the tone to say some shit to you. You ain't used to certain words that are in certain contracts. That's why you still bound to certain contracts. If a motherfucker tell you like, do you know the law? If you just sat there and go through the Black Law Dictionary, they have it on, you can go get it as a PDF. If you read the Black Law Dictionary, that should have confused the fuck out of you. Because you don't understand what them fucking words are. But them words are these words correspond with words that you use every single day. You just don't even realize it. You stuck in a tangible contract and you feel like that's been my world forever. That's all I've ever known. So you keep trying to make that shit tangible. You keep trying to make what you thought a marriage was a tangible act, but then you try to make every other reason instead of dealing with, hey, how about I understand the unity with myself and marry myself? You'll do everything the fuck else to say, yeah, marriage ain't for me, dog. Yeah, marriage ain't for me. I'm tired of these niggas because these niggas ain't doing this. They ain't doing this. They ain't doing this. You ain't using that shit you're using it for the wrong. You're purposing it wrong. You're purposing it wrong. You sat there and I did semen retention for 1.5 years. While in a relationship. That was the bulk of building. In the bulk of that year, Godico Alchemist, the full company, podcast, all information. I was slamming. I was going, making slams, making sales, making deals, doing my shit. And every time inside of the relationship, when it was like, I'm like, What's your energy look like? Give simple aspects like you know what you need to be doing. Being honest inside of the space. Adding into the space. Direction inside the space. Got triggered. Okay, shit's oh, boom, boom, boom. It naturally dissolved itself. I didn't have to worry about trying to dissolve. It naturally dissolved itself. In the human narrative, the human shit happened. But in the spiritual aspect, there was no conflict. That's why it dissolved. My intangible shit used to be based on conflict. Conflict between parents, conflict between aunts and uncles, conflict between family members. So as long as that conflict was in the air, that's why I was like, oh, that's why I needed to obseive energy like that. That's why I needed to feed like that. I didn't have my palate wasn't refined yet. I still was used to eating McDonald's, and I wanted to switch over to I wanted to switch over to filet mignon from McDonald's, but I didn't do any separation between the two. So the same reason I was eating filet mignon was the same energy I was putting behind eating McDonald's. That same 10% I was putting into McDonald's was the same 10% I was putting into the filet mignon. That same emotional underline. That same sub out. I was subbing. I was subbing that shit out. So as long as I'm subbing it out, I'm doing the same thing over and over and over again. Now I need now instead of me having that, okay, cool. Not realizing that it was the same chicks, same person, over and over and over again. All because of a lack of aspect with myself. Until I learned to sit with myself. So I kept creating these ego-based situations. And the tricky part about it in the human aspect, they make you feel good. Oh my God, she looked at me and she saw me and she said my name. She called me by my spiritual name. Yeah. She called me by my spiritual name. She called me Lucifer. She called me Papa. She called me by my spiritual name. But since she's in a base of a perception, then when it comes to making investments, and now what I've learned about investing into the senses to create a manifestation, all these things start to come up, and now these are the triggers. These are the things that haven't been dealt with yet. The reason these can't be dealt with is because in that womb of that darkness, that void, that creation, this shit ain't been dealt with yet. So it don't matter what I do inside of that space, it's going to feed this. Equivalent, manhood. Think about the aspects when you come into the human aspect. And you say every day, man, I ain't dealing with no chick with kids. Why not? Why not? What is your reason? What is your defined reason? Your defined reason that you define, that you have become, that you have created that formula, you have applied that formula into the mechanics of what you're doing in your now. In the mechanics of your now. When I think about the aspects of kids, I'm not against them, but I've been triggered before. But don't you want to don't you want to extend your legacy? The first rule of you creating a legacy is to protect your legacy, the standard of your legacy, the stability and the structure of your legacy. Spiritual relationship. My standard are my disciplines in my day-to-day, in my build, and how I grow to add, to assert that definition, to assert, direct, and develop, or what create my standard and how I structure myself. And that sets the tone of the stability or my boundaries of me protecting my legacy. It's not ego-based. It's not ego-based. So when it comes down into the physical sense, it's just because I am. I'm not building a legacy I'm not building a legacy to become or because of what I am a father. In everything that I do, I am a father. In everything that I do when it comes to providing leadership and the providing and protecting and teaching, that's the father aspect of me. When it comes to the aspect of nurturing, emotional intelligence, that love-based aspect of that compassion, that's the feminine aspect, that's the father aspect of me. When it comes to picking people up and giving people words of encouragement and unbiased words of encouragement, that's the brotherhood of myself. When it comes to being the protector and aspect of that nurturing and learning in this aspect of learning how to serve, that's the sisterhood aspect of me. I am my ancestors. I am what I am. What I am not, I shall never, what I am not, I shall never be, but I can learn from what I'm not as much as I can learn from what I'm becoming. You change the narrative. That puts you in a different space. That leaves you in humility. It leads you to be able to build with yourself. All of this just to get to that point of nothing. This is to get to the point of the descent of nothing. This is just to get to the point of the descent of nothing before you can actually start building. You can build while you're doing this. But until you have penetrated that shadow, that's why you have everybody having problems, because they go dip into the shadow a little bit. Let me stick my fingers in that shit and jump back out. And then when they go do something. Your mentality is rooted inside of your perspective, not your perception. My mentality is rooted, the mentality is rooted in my perspective, not my perception. When we're used to the external being our catalyst, our mentality gets stuck in our perception. So my mentality was rooted in the perception of others, the perception of myself. My mentality, therefore, it lacked the backing. It lacked the support. It lacked the growth. It lacked the nurturing. It lacked the guidance. It lacked the leadership. So when I was going forward with my mentality stuck in my perception, everything I did was a falsehood. It only existed as long as I could be the man, as long as I could be on top. So even when I did get I remember like when I was having the conversations in the feminine aspect and like they're really teaching me some shit, I couldn't take it. I'd be like, nah. Don't say that out loud. I got to be the smart one type shit. Did that shit in a slight way. But now I love them fucking conversations. This is because of this is because you look at how you were raised. See, a spiritual relationship is not based on, this is when we say it's not based on the physical, it's based on the internal aspects. Because the minute I'm looking for shit, the minute that it comes into my space based on the perception or my mentality or my perception, if something comes into my space and gives me something, I have to give it something back. I must give it something in return. I must protect it. I must provide for it. I must protect it. But there's the intangible aspects of protecting and providing. The resource. If I'm not providing a resource based upon growth, adding, then I'm going to add something based on subbing. This is where you look in the human narrative and you got motherfuckers like, yo, I didn't been with chicks before and I give them all this stuff, then they just leave. Your resources were falsehoods. I'm tired of giving all these niggas places to stay and all this stuff and I'm giving them all of me everything you gave them was a falsehood. It was a projection. Because the minute they found a light that was brighter than the light that you was giving them, they went over there. All because you knew in the beginning, But you have to be honest with yourself, be like, I got to stop saying that, I got to stop listening to the story based on perception of my mentality, based on what is tangible. And start looking at it based on the actions. Everything that's coming out in the present state is action. That's not potential. That's the action. Everything that you see coming out into that space based on the atmosphere, that is the action automatically. That's the action right there. That's the action. Whether it's developed or it's underdeveloped, whether it's underbalanced or overbalanced, whether it's balanced, that's what I'm looking at it for. That's my data collection. But if I'm not doing the internal work with myself, what do you think? I'm going to look at everybody else. It's like literally looking at somebody and being like, I'm going to get robbed. And every day you walk outside of your house, you say, I'm going to get robbed. So everything that you go get is based on you getting robbed. So you go get the gun because you going to get robbed. You ain't got a knife because you afraid you going to get robbed. You ain't got a bulletproof vest because you afraid you going to get shot and get robbed. So you just kept building stuff based on you getting robbed. So the further that you thought you were getting robbed, but you were grabbing protection because of a falsehood of a narrative that you've given yourself, you go further and further out into the light, which you're saying is your darkness, or the projection of your light. You go further and further out to collect information to fit you being robbed. So now you take that different way home. You go to that party. You go to this event. Oh, I got a gun. Now I'm good. Because now you created this inside of your space and you need to use it. That's the only way it has value is if it can be used. You don't know how to store anything. You don't know what a contingency is meant to be put to the side just in case. That's you understanding. This is when we break down the aspects of I am only in charge and can take ownership for the things that I can control of my actions of myself. Everything else I have now created protection as the contingency. That's your spiritual protection. You self-fulfilling the damn prophecy. You then went and did everything based on you getting robbed, getting shot, getting something taken from you, but you never got to the root of it. This goes to the ladies, this goes to both. But you never got to the root of it. The reason that I acquired half of the shit that I acquired was because I needed to, because of what was in, what I talked about, I pushed it so far down. I pushed that seed so far down into the earth that it came out on the other side and it grew up it gave me what I needed in front of me. Exactly what I needed. It was exactly what I needed when I needed it or when I wanted it. It came. But I wasn't used to that because I was used to the chase. So if I'm running in a circle waiting for some shit to come up, and then it finally pop up, is it because I was running in the circle? Or was I really getting deep, or was I just running in the circle waiting for it to pop up? So now I tell my mindset, oh, that's why I just oh my God, all this shit keep popping up in my life. Nigga, I'm running in the circle with it. I'm in the box. I have no choice for that shit to pop back up. I have no choice but for that to happen because I'm used to chasing my own damn tail. But if I look at it from the space of me now in alignment, when I'm in alignment in that relationship with myself, everything that's going to make me feel some type of way has a root to it. So instead of me like, oh my God, that nigga look good, or oh my God, shorty look good, she had a fat, that's what I've been looking for. And she's spiritual. Ooh, she know a little, she a little bit conscious. Okay, what about the conversation? What about the comprehension? Everything else went out the window. Everything went out the damn window. Cause she came in there and she can do a meditative, she can do a fucking yoga pose. Everything went out the window. But when you start seeing it, now you too far into it because you've invested into it. You use that 10% came up, instead of you sitting with it and you doing this, you ain't never had a conversation before. You ain't never had conversations before, for real. All your conversations was, the only time you had a conversation was to get something. So you had prompts based on getting something. Every prompt that you set up was to get something. If that prompt didn't work, you went to another prompt. If that prompt didn't work, you used another prompt. But every prompt that you use, it creates something. So if this prompt didn't work and it was rejected, it's going to feed all of my rejection. If this prompt didn't work and and they avoided certain aspects, this is going to feed my avoidance. If this prompt didn't work, ooh, I got something, I got some attention, but I was anxious and I had anxiety because of the third time using this damn prompt, my nervousness. That nerve-wracking fear was always there. What's different about this one? That's not about the other ones. They accepted the glamour. They accepted this glamour a little bit more. But then, Lord and behold, when they started asking me about these questions, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. I rationalized this shit to be the same questions motherfuckers want to know about me. And I'm still scared about myself because I really don't know myself. So if I tell them this about me, they're going to use it against me. Are they really using it against you? This is a question I had to ask myself. Are they really using it against you? Or is it a reminder? It didn't set. Are they really using my traumas against me? Or it's because they were trying to I was trying to use it as a gateway of being familiar with this person. When it was planted into the space, it was planted into a shallow soil. It was planted in that shallow soil. And it went down just deep enough so it can actually catch the roots. And that projection of my perception of myself kept shining on that. My doubt, my insecurity, that wound, it kept shining on that. So it produced something. But because I'm not used to dealing with that aspect of myself, every time that I deal with it or it comes into my space, it's from a space of being underdeveloped. So now when I look at the human narrative of the relationship, and the relationship's always underdeveloped. The conversation, we don't communicate because my communication skills are underdeveloped. I don't think you love me. I don't think you like me. Why? Because we had some deep conversations before, and we don't have them conversations anymore. I'm talking about that vague imprint. I was using the vague imprint to make shit work. I had to understand that I was being vague. You go into every relationship, I'm tired of niggas that don't have nothing going for themselves. What's your definition of not going for themselves? I can never ask anything from anyone that I've not yet given to myself, that I've not yet developed in myself, ever. I cannot ask anybody for anything. That's a lot of times is what we do in this intangible agreement based on fear. That's substitution. This nigga gonna serve this purpose. Who the fuck said? This shorty gonna serve this purpose. Who the fuck said? Then you create a whole scenario in your mind and you're mad when they don't live up to the scenario. But you don't understand how to, you don't have the ability to guide anyone inside of that space. And this person don't have the ability to lead you inside of that space. Because guidance is the atmosphere. Leadership is the tone in the masculine aspect. In the feminine aspect, it goes the other way. The tone becomes the atmosphere. That's what leads them. So they can look at it that way. You got to allow inside of that space with yourself, when you know that there's something underdeveloped with you, that means you are not good with, let's use for the aspects, human experience for niggas, for us as brothers. If I don't understand emotions, and I know I don't understand my emotions, that's something that I'm underdeveloped in. I don't know how to manage those. So when it comes to my emotions, that means someone that's going to come into my space, they're going to teach me the aspects of my emotions. They're going to give me those lessons and emotions. Me getting upset, me feeling some type of way, is letting me know that my emotions were underdeveloped in certain areas. To the other end of that aspect, I can't keep talking about the aspects of and using what is tangible. I got a degree, I got degrees and all this other. Okay, cool. I know motherfuckers that got 17 fucking degrees right now, dumb as hell. I know motherfuckers that got not one degree, own companies and businesses. So what does that mean? See, we're changing this. We're shattering this. We're shattering every definition. All of it has to be shattered. The way that you built everything has to be shattered. Man, because according to my mom and my granddaddy and great-great-grandparents and all this and this, that shit don't exist anymore. Gonna be real with you, it don't exist. It don't. You fighting for it. You motherfuckers fighting for a phantom thought. Now you may find it, but you must be defined at that level inside of that space. That's what that means. None of the shit exists and all of the shit exists at the same exact time. There is no good niggas and there is good niggas at the same time. There are no good women and there are no good women and there are good women at the same fucking time. How do you define that with yourself? How have you built that with yourself? That system with you. How have you integrated and made that an intangible factor inside of your life that is not based on the aspects of the trauma? This is why trauma bombing, ego, trauma and love bombing and being gaslit and being told that you're doing all you think, that's why that shit stays so fucking prevalent. That's why it sounds so good, because it always feeds that inner child that has not been introduced yet. Because it's still coming from that womb that old aspects of that womb. And you keep trying to, okay, cool, I'm going to birth something, I'm going to make something happen real quick. Why aren't you sitting in the birthing stage? Why aren't you sitting down with yourself? Because I got kids and I got this and this and this. What? Reality, where you think about the kids when that happened? Were you thinking about the kids when this shit happened? It just happened, didn't it? It didn't just happen. What events led up to it? What shit did you bypass and not want to pay attention to? See, in owning that, but that ownership and accountability, that's what takes us back into that aspects of what did our parents do? Mm-hmm. We keep going in these mindsets when we like a lot of these narratives where we get told this shit to make us trigger shame for us. I've had whole clients come to me in the aspects of they were dealing with their postpartum with getting like releasing their child from their custody, and their mother literally gave them hell for fucking years for doing it. And when I sat there with this client, it was like, yo, you did what your mother couldn't do. What your mother would. You did what your mother's pride would not allow her to do. You knew and did what you needed to do. You need to own that. Because until you own that, you're only going to keep attracting the same. You're only going to keep attracting the same problem to try to fix what you have not owned. And until you, that situation, till you truly become thankful of that situation, because it gave you your first level of lessons and mastery with yourself, you're only going to try to sub out the contributor to the lesson. That's what an ego-based relationship is. You keep trying to sub out the contributors to the initial trauma and make them something else, to make them projected as something else, to see this person loves me and this person honors me and they would never do anything to hurt me. And you holding this person to that regard, that projection. So everything that they themselves, in their honesty with themselves, their darkness, you ignore. And now you create a situation. Now you got to stay. Everybody learns. I went through some things too. So like, yeah, this is when we get into the aspects of that quintessential, why didn't you just leave? Because I remember asking that question a million times. Why didn't you just leave? And not understanding that. And I sat with that for a long time. Why didn't you just leave? I couldn't accept the answer. And since I couldn't accept that answer, that's why I was out. All right, cool. The shit ain't working. I'm gone. Or I would stay too long trying to fix it. Living the same narrative. Just because, and then to trick myself, I wouldn't do it in a relationship. This is how you build it. This is how you define your space. What my job really was. What all of my jobs really were me to prove to myself that I can stick some shit out. But every time a relationship came up, I started acting different at work. It was out of balance. The light only could point to one side or the other. The other time, to wherever my light shined, the darkness had to cast on the other one. I didn't understand balance. I wasn't in that center space. So the relationship was going good. The job would not go so well. I would go through the motions at the job. It was in the darkness, going through the motions. My demons would take over at the job. My attitude would get worse at the job. When things started going bad over here, bad at in the relationship, now the job going good. I didn't understand. I was compartmentalizing myself. This is when you compartmentalize. This was This was the tangible. This was intangible. This was tangible. This was tangible. This was intangible. There was aspects of my job that were tangible. There was other aspects of my job that were intangible. That's the longevity. That's that I've been at this job for 5 years. That's that I've been at the job and I should have got a raise. I should have got this, this, and this. Those are the intangible effects based on the attention of my worth and my value being externalized. In the relationships, there was shit that was intangible. The things that I was doing based on my value and my worth being externalized. So whenever the relationship reached a certain point to where now it was becoming tangible, what can I do? At the same time, on the other end corresponding it, I'm looking at the job to provide these intangible effects to what I can do in that relationship. And I repeated that cycle over and over and over again. And you repeat the cycle and you look at the environment outside of you because you ain't got to the root that, damn, that's what my pops did. That's what my grandfather did. That's what they did back in the day. I'm trying to live that out. I'm trying to live out both sides. I'm trying to live this life. But in order for me to live that life, I got to stay within the mentality of the perception. So now I look at my space. It reflects it. There's hardworking niggas around me and shit. There's hard work. There's motherfuckers that go to clubs and go to bars and do all this other shit that I can go do. Oh, false sense of choice. This is when we look at the aspects, you get this false sense of free will or this false sense of progress. That false sense of progress versus the processes. So the moment that you stop living inside of this process over here and you start turning your process over here, you now bring this into your darkness and that is now in the light. That's why when you become conscious or aware and you start seeing things, it's because it's been reduced to its lowest aspect. That is now what is in. This is what's illegible. I can't see this or what. Now I'm seeing it for what it is. Oh my God. No, you're not seeing it for what it is. Okay, if you saw it for what it is, you could accept it for what it is, acknowledge it, accept it for what it is, and be like, okay, cool, that's what it is. But this is where we get stuck in that fear-based aspect with the consciousness of wanting to One second while I go use the restroom. It's gonna get easier. It becomes yeah, like let me read that. Exactly. Like you tried it when you were younger, but until understanding the root of something like that, like understanding that root, all you're going to do is technically try to replace it. Like how else, what other ways can I get rid of my anger and my what you call it? So you can do something that in the mindset, it can be helped. Like use an example. I remember watching my pops My pops used to smoke back-to-back packs of cigarettes all the fucking time. He's smoking back-to-back packs of cigarettes. That wasn't something that I could fucking do. My emotional aspects would kick in. That's how he would deal with his emotions. My emotions became workouts. My emotional aspect would be workouts. What did I say? Go back up. My shit would be how I would work out, how I would go to work. I would submerge my emotions this is what we learned the aspects of, like, I would submerge my emotions into things until my emotions became numb. So I would turn them off or numb them or make them dormant. A lot of times for us, especially as men, like, what we'll do is that program is to we don't hide our emotions. We program or project our emotions into other things. And that becomes the emotional catalyst for our emotions. That becomes the reaction of how we feed or we keep our emotions fed. But once you going through that point is like, but once that's not there, once that condom is not there, that's when you get itchy and you like, man, I need that fix. That's the addiction aspect when I was talking about earlier. Go to the other side of that. When it comes to, because we externalize our emotions. We put them into other things. This is the reason for this. We rationalize the emotion. As opposed to the feminine aspect, and this is going both sides, not just women, but we're talking about feminine, the aspects of men that are more to the feminine seat, or women are into their more feminine seat. When you look at the feminine aspect, they will internalize the emotion. That means a natural receptive state, they pull that shit in and they pull things towards them to resuscitate and keep that emotional aspect going. This is when we're talking about the feminine aspect. You stuck in your feminine seat or your masculine seat, really knowing what seat you're sitting in. Because I sat in my feminine seat for a long period of time. So when it came to my emotions in points in time, I would always be receptive to what I would draw into my space. I was drawing things in. That was me being in the aspects of being an introvert, not understanding what being an introvert was. I needed to be to myself when I was charging. But because I was in the lower aspects of me being an introvert, I felt it was like my fear of rejection, abandonment. I constantly needed things to pull me out or help me use my emotions in an outward state. See, we get it. That feminine aspect is the aspect of cycling and internalizing. The masculine aspect is where we externalize it. It's the masculine concept. It's the feminine aspect that externalizes. It's the masculine aspect that does that in. The feminine aspect is going to use it into this internalizing sense. The masculine aspect pushes it outwards and cycles it. So from that, when daddy needed the bottle or Auntie Joe, they were implementing from the masculine aspect, knowing to acknowledge or intellectualize this pain and to transfer it. This is what we talk about the difference between transferring versus the aspects of transmuting. When you're transferring some shit, because of the traumatic imprint and the perception of that aspect, we'll transmit. We transmit, we transfer. We transmit or we transfer our energy. We transfer it. So if they're mad and I'm not mad, okay, cool. If they're mad, I can project my thoughts of what I would feel they would be mad at me. That's why the first time you inside of a relationship or an argument, did I do something wrong? First thing that you'll say, and we think it's normal. Did I do something wrong? First thing that we'll say. I remember I had to really sit with myself in that space, but like, I need to stop asking people because we go into this all the time. That was me trying to relate to them to accept whatever the hell was going on. It's like the push-pull. So if I could find relation inside of the situation with this person, why they're upset, why they're mad, then I could validate their emotion. I could validate their emotion. If I couldn't validate the emotion by me being able to relate to it, then I could be like, this becomes that sentence of, why are you upset? Why are you upset? I don't understand why you're upset. It was just this, and this. I don't understand why you're upset. So now what I'm doing to my inner child, the same way my shit was invalid, I did the same shit. But yeah, exactly. But as soon as I could relate to it, that's when I would validate it. I would validate their emotions based on me being able to relate to it. So as soon as that's the quintessence, like, I'm fine. But like, okay, here's the thing. You feel, okay, they're fine. And then I'm going to go, sit there. Sit there. Don't leave the space. I say the shit all the time. I've told that shit to many clients in the relationship counseling when we're doing relationship counseling. Sit in that room. Don't leave. Whatever you're about to do inside of that space. I remember my first I'm fine conversation. I remember the first I'm fine conversation, I'm okay conversation. I was like, okay. And this is my first time setting a boundary. I wasn't doing it to invalidate them or anything. I was like, I can accept that you're saying that you are fine. But but the way that you are acting right now, or the way that you are presenting yourself right now, this is something that I've never seen you be fine and act like this. This is when you leave the space open so they can actually come into that space. You're leading them. Literally, this is the leadership. Even if they don't, this is the leadership. Asserting the direction to develop. You saying that you're fine. I've never seen you be fine, and this happens this way. I'm going to go in the other room, and I'm going to start doing my thing in there. If you want to have a conversation or whatever's wrong, come in there, we sit down, we have a conversation about it. That leaves the space open. Go to the other side when you're thinking about the aspects instead of assuming some shit. Just goes to the aspects of ladies. I can give a generalized, but more personal. This is why we book consultations into that space. When you're dealing with someone that doesn't know how to deal with their emotions, we have to remove this aspect of making that shit invalid based on the generic. Because every time we invalidate, it's based on something generic. You supposed to be a man. Toughen up. That nigga done heard that shit 27 times, 300 times in his life. In 300 different ways. Or he may have never heard that shit. All you doing is invalidating this nigga's feelings. Same damn instance. Hey. Actions. You want to go for a walk? You want to go work out? You want to go? What do you want to do in the aspects of your feelings right now? Like to validate. Just listen. Just listen. This goes in aspects of listening without trying to listening. On both sides. We have to stop trying to listen from this space of trying to validate or make it invalid or valid because we can't relate to it. Of course, you're not going to be able to relate to it. It's not for you to relate to. It's for you to sit in that space and listen to it. Because 90% of the time, when we're not willing to listen to a certain conversation, is because if it triggers us, if we can't provide an answer, we feel like we're less than a person. Man, I can't, man, if I can't give them the answer that they want, I'm gonna be worthless. If I can't give him the answer that he want, he gonna find it from somewhere else. That ain't what it's about. It's about you being honest. I don't know how many conversations that I've saved and like going back to old relationships and having a conversation about, damn, I didn't know what to do. And the thing was inside of that space, I was triggered. I used to get triggered by that shit. If I say I don't know, and they say you don't ever know, I would get triggered by that. It wasn't on them. They were going through their own shit. At that point in time, it was on me. Why was I triggered by not knowing? What did I look at? Childhood shit, shadow work, dealing with myself, dealing with my own emotions. Because if I look back then, I could see, I was like, so now when I healed that aspect, man, you don't ever know what to do. It's not that I'm being honest. I do not know. I'm trying to let you know I don't know. But if I know more of this situation, or I know more of what the problem is, or we get to the root of this problem, maybe if I don't know, I can go find the information. But the last, because I didn't know the last time you brought this situation to me. And when you said, I'm going to go find out yourself, I was like, you going to bring back the information? It's on both ends. Let me bring the information back. Bring the information. Let's have a conversation about it. But that goes into open-ended. But we're so used to all our traumas being on. They can't do this. If a nigga can't do this for me, she can't do this for me, then it's over. What about it about myself? What about it about myself? Do I really need to sit with? Am I okay with not fucking knowing? What did I build in my perception of feeling that? Why wasn't I honest with my perception in the beginning? This is the importance of build. This is when you look at the spiritual relationship or the healthy relationship. When you sit there inside of that space and you sitting there and you're like, wait, this is the building with the conversation. This is the build of conversations. This is the comprehension of conversations. This is the speaking from a space of, I don't know. This is when you go into that space and you keep telling yourself, yo, all I want is shorty with the, and you get the perception of this shorty. You get the perception of fine ass real estate. Real estate's great. Remember, when you buy real estate, you buy the neighborhood. When you buy a house, you don't buy the house, you buy the neighborhood. You rent in the neighborhood. When you get an apartment, you don't rent the apartment, you rent in the apartment complex. You paying for the amenities. Favorite line in Four Brothers, you don't pay a hoe to like you, you pay the bitch to leave. That's the externalized aspect. When you coming out here and you leave with your trauma that you know you ain't dealt with, you are giving them everything that is necessary for them to leave. You are literally creating a space that is based upon self-prophecy. If you go into every relationship, every job, and you tell them, this is why I left my last job, that's very disheartening. When you go to your last job, the next time you go into the next time job, relationship, whatever it is, here's some relationship advice because I do relationship counseling. Relationship counseling. When it comes to the relationship from the last relationship you were in, Instead of you saying everything negative that they did, say everything positive. Say the positive things that you remember about what the fuck they did. They were a good listener. They were a good listener, or they were very attentive. They were reassuring. They helped me. They confirmed a lot. They helped me confirm a lot of things about myself. Things of that narrative. Speak that out first. Speak that out. Because that's going to help with the statement of intention. Because now everything that comes up, remember, because you're reprogramming your space, this is the same thing as when you make that program mantra, that affirmation, saying that I want to be more in balance, and I want to be more encompassing. I want to be more in balance. I want to be more gain my discipline. I want to wake up earlier. I want to get better with myself. Same program. What will come up first? Negative. All the shit that need to be worked on comes up first. All of the stuff that you are assuming that you desire, that you want based on entitlement, based on the negative that you're putting out, now you attract the projection of that into your space. That's how that shit goes. When you wake up in the morning and you're like, I want to go make some money, but you ain't defined money yet. What's in the 50%? Trauma. Everything you build based on trauma. I need to make money for this, and this. How about you wake up in the morning for the next 30 days, say, this bill is paid, this bill is paid, this bill is paid, this bill is paid. Therefore, when everything comes up about that bill, now you can sit there and build your format. My rent's $900 a month. That shit's paid. So every time that I go out and I make, and now that I'm in alignment with the money or in alignment with this energy, now when it comes into my space, the bill that I just said was already paid. This is what goes towards that. This is already spent. I'm in gratitude because I have everything that I need exactly when I need it. Everything else you're building around that. That's what you are re-engineering the way that you look at things based on that cognitive dissonance because you stuck on chasing it instead of becoming into alignment with it. If I know that I don't understand shit about fucking finances or money matters. If I don't understand something about money matters and I wake up in the AM and I'm like, okay, cool. Today is going to be the day that I'm going to, because I'm always going to have the thought, it's going to come across my screen. I don't know nothing. So the next time that Bitcoin come up, or I remember Bitcoin came up and Google came, all these stocks and shit came up. I don't know shit about stocks. But it wasn't from a lack mentality. This is the energy. When you were a kid, you didn't know shit. When you were a kid, you didn't know shit about cooking. But when you was out in the fucking backyard building your base, the pine cones, the fucking sticks, the mud pies, the bombs you made, all that shit. You knew how to make that all of a sudden. This is tapping into that imagination. This is now, once I've descended into my darkness and I've now defined my darkness, that means I've taken the steps of owning the aspects of my darkness and what created this space. Now I can start working with it. Now it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Instead of the fear-based narrative, man, I got to get off this fucking planet. This shit ghetto. The same shit that you calling ghetto is the same shit that you making something out of nothing with. But you calling it ghetto. All right, cool. It's ghetto. You're going to keep getting low budget results. You keep getting low bed. Now you keep getting, this is why you keep getting low quality shit, because you keep saying this because of how you lead yourself into the situation. The same way you had that conversation with yourself, are you trying to convince yourself, or are you really learning that aspect about yourself? Are you trying to recondition yourself? Yeah, I'm great. and then the things that come up that are not so great about you pop up, then you like, nah, I'm great and I'm the best. Bring that shit down. Bring that shit down. Bring that shit down. It's all right. Bring it down. You're underdeveloped in that area. Nigga, you ain't got no money. You right. I ain't got no money. You right. I ain't got no money. I got $10. You right. I ain't got no money. All my money's in investments. All my money's in investments. You are right. You are correct, because all my money's in investments. Change the definition. Now that I'm showing this sense of being unbothered, now it stops coming through now it stops passing past my radar. Man, you stuck up. Nah. Yeah, you right. My energies, I'm cycling different. I'm different. You have to be able to approach this shit from the state of being, yeah. The type of woman that you want is what I'm not. The type of man that you want that's something that I'm not. After that, this is literally how you turn the ego off. The same way when we sit there and you look how you got to turn this shit off to bypass it to get to your subconscious based on making it agree with itself. The same way, think about it like this. You know how robots can't answer the question of a paradox? They can't lie. They can't answer paradoxical questions. A robot cannot say that it's not a robot. Your ego cannot say that it's not your ego. You just must learn how to speak to your ego to force it to answer that question of itself. That's the bypassing. That's the suspending disbelief. So every time that you are inside of a moment when it's highly emotional, highly anxious, and things start coming up from your past of, oh my God, last time I did this happened. Yes, that did happen last time. But this time, we are now aware of what happened last time, so now we know what to look for. Bypass your ego into subconscious. Now I can get to the root. Now whatever's coming up across the table, that's the shit. Okay, cool. That's going to lead me to the next. That's going to lead me to something next. It got to, because it wouldn't show up if it wouldn't. It's working for me, not against me. Once I started imprinting these things into my mindset, a lot of things fell away. A lot of things that I was battling fell away. A lot of the ways I was thinking about things fell away. A lot of the things that I thought about the intellectual reasons of why I was aware and why I was awake and why I was conscious and why I was working with magic and why I was working with my energy. A lot of that shit went away. I literally went to that state of remembering that scene from The Matrix. The thing about it is, there is no spoon. That shit started making sense. Because I removed the fear of what if it doesn't do it. So I can actually start implementing it in my mind. I can start planting those seeds and allowing them to grow. Because I wasn't planting seeds in scarcity. So in my human narrative now, I'm not doing things based on scarcity. I'm not doing things based on lack. So a lot of things look different now. Because I'm not doing things based on lack. A lot of conversations, I'm not triggered to want to say something now. Because I'm not doing that shit based on lack. Something come up on my time, I'm not looking at it based on lack. It's different now. I understand the mechanics of what I'm doing. So it's only for me to understand. The ones that are in alignment with it, they get it. I use an example. Today when I was dropping my reel videos, if you're not familiar with reels, we use it as an example. With reels on Facebook, Facebook and Instagram are the same shit. But on Facebook, they just now got to the point to where your reels can only be 30 seconds. On Instagram, the reels can be up to a minute. So the science behind that aspect, okay, cool. I took a bunch of TikTok videos from previous and I uploaded them to my Reels. I'm uploading them to my Reels because that's how I'm going to get certain information out quicker into that space. I'm expanding into this, using this mechanic. Somebody came up under one of the posts and that post had like 107 likes and I got 543 follows from it. Just using the numbers don't mean shit. This is a science to it. Somebody made a comment with like, I strongly dislike videos like this from content creators that do videos like this. I mean, I understand that you're trying to drive traffic to your pages, but why wouldn't you put it all in one video? Instead of me being triggered and being like, instead of me being triggered and speaking out of truth or needing to need this, bitch, you don't understand that this bitch only 30 seconds and da-da-da-da. Instead of going through that whole thing, all I put was match gratitude for your comment. We're open for business. I already had the shit plugged in. We're open for business. Join me on TikTok. Join me on G.O.D, Alchemist, my YouTube channel. Because the video was a clip from my TikTok. So you can go on TikTok, get the first 4 pieces. Or you can go straight to G.O.D, Alchemist, my YouTube channel, and get the full video. Instead of me going into the space, trying to defend, there's nothing to defend. I must accept everything that comes through that space, and I must act accordingly. What? Okay, put a post in there, full links. What you said was correct. I'm going to give you exactly what the fuck you need. It's your decision if you going to click on it or not. After that, okay, cool. I understand. If you don't understand the mechanics of it, then of course you go sit there and be like, I wish they put it all in the full video. But if you were observing if she observed the video, she would have saw that the video said part 4, the shit said TikTok. That lets me know she's not familiar with it. That goes into the space when you go into these new spaces with yourself, building these new systems. Everybody ain't going to be familiar with what you're doing now, in your now, where you're at now. Ain't nobody going to be familiar with that shit. Especially if they rooted in the trauma that you just came from. Especially if they rooted in events that you just came from. Your purpose is to establish the example. Establish your standard. They're going to help you establish your standard. They're going to help you establish your structure. They're going to help you establish your stability. They're going to help you establish this aspect of yourself, this new aspect, this new entity. That's why they're there. They either are there to distract you or they're going to be there to they're the same fucking thing. If you don't need it anymore, truly, you'll find this is when you find yourself after a while, you find yourself not responding to shit anymore. After you're not responding to it anymore, the shit don't even exist anymore. Like, I use the example, like, I remember everybody was talking about the white people. Like, I don't really see them anymore. There's some little old ladies that walk through the neighborhood, and I might, if I'm doing my run or my walk, I might wave at them or whatever. They might squint because they can't see me because my light is irradiating so fucking bright, that shit. But I really don't see them. I don't feel that type of way about all of the supremacy and all that. I know it exists, but the level that I'm at in the space that I'm in, I'm humbly able to say that doesn't exist where I work at. That doesn't exist inside of my program, in the program that I've rewritten for myself. I'm outside of that bubble. I'm outside of that box. So I can see it for what it is from the other end. So if somebody approaches me about it, I can give them honesty, give them unbiased, give them my opinion. If they get upset by it, they can get upset about it. They feel some type of way about what the fuck I say. Feel what you say. Do it thou wilt with this information that I've given you. Go over there. Ain't no reason for me to hate it. Ain't no reason for me to get all emotional. None of that shit. Like the other day, my man's Eris, he was doing his Monday morning live. And I legit had one task to do. And it was to go in there and make flame emojis. After he was distracted for 15 minutes, I put, that's why I did it. Ha, 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 ha. And I dipped out. That was my only purpose for being there, to do that. That was it. That was it. I had no other reason to go in there but to do that. That was it. Because that's me living in my inner child aspect. I'm clearly to live in all aspects of myself. I have no shame. I have no shame. That does not mean, this motherfuckers get stupid with that shit. Just because I have no shame does not mean I do not understand shame. Yeah, you were there. Oh, just because with the aspects of shame, just because I don't have shame or I don't have guilt, that don't mean I don't know what guilt is. I don't know what shame is. That don't mean I don't know what it is. Just because I don't get angry anymore or feel some type of way about shit anymore, that don't mean I don't know what it is. It's the same equivalent to like when I went plant-based and every time I'm sitting at my house, now when I cook food, everybody will look at me like, you know how to cook that? Like I forgot to do the other part. But I'm looking at it as like, oh, other people shut shit off when they go do other things. That's that fear-based narrative. Just because I stopped eating meat does not mean I do not know how to cook meat. Just because I know how to make vegan fried chicken does not mean I still do not know how to make regular fried chicken. I didn't forget about it. I still can acknowledge it. I still can use it when it's necessary. But it's something that I'm not sitting there like, oh my God, I can't believe niggas eat meat still. Knowing what meat do to their bodies. That's not my job. That's not for me. That's not for me to go with them in. When they want to ask questions about being plant-based and eating meat and eating healthier, then I can provide them because I still understand that space. I know I can know what to use in there. But like, hey, I know you eat a lot of fried chicken. Maybe you should start baking it a little bit a couple times. I know you weaning yourself off. You want to be more plant-based or eat more healthier. How about you bake it next time? It's not about me saying, man, eating baked chicken ain't no good. Bake it this time. I got to beat them. I got to understand. I got to have compassion for where they're at with themselves. This goes into the aspect of I don't look for broken people. I don't look for broken clients. I don't look for people that are broken. I'm not looking to fix problems. That's just not in my what I do. That is who I am. I don't look for broken people on any end of myself. I don't look for broken people on any aspect in any aspect of my realities. Nobody that comes to me is broken. Maybe a little bit disorganized, may need some fucking guidance. That's about it. But ain't no one around me broken because that's my new reality. That is my world. So when people come to me and they say that they're broken, I can tell them, yo, you ain't broken. You just got some habits we got to deal with. You got some shit in your darkness we got to work on. Let's work on it. Because the last thing I need to tell somebody is give them what they want and they're going to lose what they need. This is when you look at motherfuckers get infatuated because in the fear-based narrative, now we going back, Cheryl, we've been cycling back from the relationships as we going through the cycle. In that aspect of the fear-based, I got to give you something to fear. I got to be able to, giving you something to fear is giving you something to basically agree with. So if I sit there and tell you like, yeah, white people is the devil, and you like, yeah, white people is the devil, yeah, now I'm relating to you based on the trauma. I'm relating to you based on the trauma. So as long as that trauma is present, you'll stay in my space. We gonna have conversations. We gonna talk. I can feed off of you. I have no thoughts in my mind of feeding off anyone. If I did, I would have got off the live earlier because that's not what I'm here for. I'm not here for that. I'm here to take you outside of your comfort zone because I don't live inside of a comfort zone. I've broken down the aspects of I have a dissatisfaction for humanity. I don't hate humanity. I just got a dissatisfaction for it. Because as long as I have a hatred for it or a lack of understanding for it, I'm always going to try to fix it and sub out things to make it better while I'm here. I'm in a dissatisfaction for reality. I don't need to escape. I don't want to escape. I will leave when it is time. I'm good. I don't have to. There's no rush. So I can build. I can do everything that is supposed to be done. Everything's where it needs to be. Everything's happening the way it needs to happen. I ain't got no problems. I ain't got no worries. I really ain't got no worries. I got nothing to worry about. I can simply be. I can wake up in the AM. I did a bomb ass meditation. The meditation that I did this AM was so fucking amazing that I was like, okay, cool. Y'all want me to make that a guided meditation? I'm gonna make a guided meditation video track of the meditation that I did. I ain't did it in the physical in such a long time that now this is another key that I wanted to say. I see I'm getting excited. I'm getting fast. The spirits in that. Once you get everything in the aspect of being cleared out and you comfortable with it, once you get that, you're going to literally go back to things. This is why I don't have to read a bunch of books anymore, because I'm always led back to something. Earlier, late last year, I was led right back into the Bible. Started reading that, like, oh my... mid last year, I got back into the Bible. Like, ooh, there's some different shit in here. Read what I needed to read, left the rest there. If I gotta go back to it, it'll bring it back up to me. That's when you're in this state of this thought where you're always engaged. I'm always engaged. I'm always open. I'm always aware. I've talked about it in many of my lectures before. My body is fucking pushing out sweat all fucking day because I don't hold shit in. So all energy just push out, push out, push out, push out. Keep moving forward. You're now changing that current. What would desolation look like to you? That's where you're going to be led to next. Can you allow yourself to be led by your inner? Can you allow yourself to be led by the flow of the understanding? If you understood that all of your actions led you to certain points and everything that you knew had consequences, would you try to stop your flow? I'm not trying to stop my flow anymore. When you come to that space with yourself, everything that you keep coming up into, eventually it's time for you to sit down. If you keep running and running and running, I've talked about this before. If you're running and running and running, it's time for you to sit down. And if you've been sitting down, it's time for you to get up and start moving. If you sitting down and getting with your sitting down in a space is intangible to you, it fears you, everything that you're going to create around is going to make that a fear around that. Fear of money, fear of speak, fear of fear of investing. I'm the only one I got, all of that shit. Okay, cool, boom, boom, boom. That's what's going to stop you from back sitting down. That's going to keep you running. That's what's been keeping you running. The shit that got you sitting down and not wanting to make the moves and not wanting to take them next steps, same shit pop up. If I spend that money, it's over. It'd be the same shit. You have not made moving forward an intent. You have not made it intangible. You have not made sitting still an intangible effect. What was once intangible was once tangible. Your emotions as a god, to you as a god, as a goddess, as a king, as a queen, as a god and a goddess, emotions were tangible to you. Pain was intangible to you. You had to learn it. And the ways that you learned it were necessary in order for you to level up. This shit gonna keep hitting you upside your head until you accept you. It's great for me. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling charged up. Might go for a walk a little bit later just to walk this energy off. Because I brought all this energy down. Woo! But yeah. Y'all know what we do around this time at this point of this convergence. I'm going to do a nice little collective reading. Collective reading for everybody. The ones that are watching now and the ones that are going to watch this video later. I'm going to download this video a little bit later, earlier on in the week. Messages, signs, symbols, and messages. Signs, symbols, and messages. It's the aspects of the Six of Coins. Signs, symbols, and messages. You're inside of this space with yourself right now. You're being told that message is in the aspect of the Knight of Coins. This is that point of grounding with yourself. Tacos, chicken tacos all day. This is that point of that ground. This is that point for yourself where you're moving forward to is you're moving forward into an aspect of grounding. So naturally in the spiritual aspect of the conscious, we talk about the spiritual aspect. When we're grounding as above, it's dethroning below. We have to talk about these aspects of how these mirrors work sometimes. If I'm in a state of grounding or in a rut, or I'm in that rut with myself, in my current self, in my state where I'm at physically, that means something's going to start being uprooted in the aspects of my spiritual aspect, my consciousness, my higher self, the astral realm, all of that shit. Every time something happening up top and the aspects of that going forward, as we're looking at the aspects of that conflict, that falling out of that conflict, that breaking ground, we're looking at this aspect of breaking ground. It's the conflict right now in that state of when I break forth this ground, when I make this decision to take in this information, the thing, what is actually going to stop me? Judgment. You have to let go of this. You have to let go of this fear of being judged. You have to let go of that aspect. It is not the fear of being, I told you how emotions work. It's not the fear of being judged in the present state. It's that judgment from back in the day that you still holding on to. It's that judgment from back in the day that keep coming up in those subtle ways that make you start questioning yourself. It's time to sit with what has you questioning yourself. What has you questioning yourself? I did it this morning. That shit was great. That goes into the aspects of the Seven of Wands. The Seven of Wands represents that being on that horizon. Until you clear that judgment inside of your own mind, you're all the horizon of what you're wanting to achieve, the next aspects of what you're wanting to achieve are always going to be right there on the horizon. You'll be looking at it like this, wondering what decision to make to get closer to that. It ain't about getting closer to that. It's about getting yourself in alignment with that. Remember, you're not chasing it anymore. There's no need to chase. So if your judgment is that fear of, I got to run to go get that, that's what you're going to have to deal with, or that decision is going to leave you looking at the horizon like, one day I'll get there. One day I'll be like that. And what are you going to do next? Like everybody else does? Every opportunity to cut yourself down. You take every opportunity in the world to cut yourself off and cut yourself down and cut yourself short. Because you're going to go look at 16 other motherfuckers. You're going to look at videos, YouTubes, and everybody else, what everybody else is doing. You got to understand, I've said this before, you got to understand, you don't know what's behind that 10% that you keep getting stuck on, and you don't know how long it took them to get there. Every time someone's like, man, how do you do it, man? You don't understand what the fuck I done and what I had to go through this to get to this point. To be able to, but it's like I'm not chasing or trying to get to a point. I'm already in the position that I'm in. If I can't own it now, where I'm at, then every time that shit come up, when it's an opportunity, my underdeveloped sense, my arrogance that's when your ego kick in. Ego kick in all the goddamn time. It's like everybody right now, use an example. Somebody can go from 10 followers to 1 million followers on Instagram and have nothing based under it. Motherfuckers can have 500,000 followers on Facebook. Ain't got nothing based under it. Motherfuckers can have 600,000, whatever. All that going on. But ain't got nothing based under it. I have next week, April 2nd. What's this today? I might extend it. Yeah. I might extend it out to Sunday. Sunday, no, you know what? I'm gonna extend it out to Monday. Monday is the last day. Monday is the last day for you to sign up for the Tantra Healing class. It's $125. It's a 4-week class. The first class is April 2nd, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. When you closer to that day, I'll be sending out the links to that. There is a payment plan available. Also, there's a payment plan available. That's why I said Monday's the last day. You can do your $75 deposit, and before the first day of class, you're paying a installment. What's the installment? It's like $27, like $30. It's like $30 for the installment to get into those classes. Tantric healing, we're gonna get into that. There's love languages. Intimacy is going to be we getting deep in that one. But everything that you're doing is going into the aspects of that decision for yourself. It's not that you're afraid of the judgment of the decision, of that perception. It's you're afraid of, once I make this decision, what if I get exactly what I desire? Am I ready for it? If you got to ask yourself, are you ready for it? You're not. It's time to do the work. It's not about being ready for, it's about embracing when it comes to you. It can be, I said this before. You could have said you want more money and want a better life for yourself, and you lost your job. That's what needed to happen. You got to own that. Instead of saying, no, I lost my job, but like, yes, I lost my job. Now I can stop bullshit with the shit I said I was supposed to be doing 3 months ago. Gotta be honest with yourself. You have to take that shit to the highest point. And pull one more card. Last card, that 4 coins. I'm pulling this all 4 coins. You're at the end of that cycle. You're at the end of the cycle. You at the end of the cycle. You keep doing the same 4 things. You keep doing the same 3 things and get to the same home base. You keep doing the same 3 things. You keep running the same 3 bases and get to the same home base. And wondering why home base ain't changed. It ain't gonna change. The base that you keep setting up with yourself, the base that's where you keep saying that you want to be at. Everything that you've done up to this point leads you back to the same thing. And then you might change out, you might take off the shirt and put on a different shirt, but you ultimately doing the same exact motions. But as always, everything with me, readings, you're interested in readings, consultations, any of my services, please do not hesitate. I'm here. My dedication to you becoming fucking great is based on your dedication to yourself becoming great. I can't be more dedicated than you to your work. I can't want to fight more than you want to fight for yourself. That's how I'm at. That's the even energy exchange. Because I can go hard for you, but it will only benefit me. Because the energy is going to return back to me. When we do this shit in the even exchange and you on that wavelength and you trying to battle up, that's what I'm here for. Appreciate y'all for stopping through. I'm about to go make some tea. Go stand outside in the grass. Got a lot of energy running through me right now. I love you. Any questions, hit me up in the inbox. You love us. Ashe.